Borden's return to Heartland should have been the perfect homecoming, right? But what if coming back feels more complicated than he expected? The bond between Ty and Amy is one fans have always cherished, but time changes things. Now, Ty's noticing that while he was gone, some friendships, especially Amy's with Caleb and Nathan, grew stronger than he ever anticipated. So, is there space for him to truly fit back in? Let's dive into Ty's journey as he navigates love, friendship, and unexpected feelings in a world that's changed around him. Though Ty knows Amy cares deeply for him, he can't help but feel a pang of jealousy when he sees her closeness with both men. For him, it's not just jealousy, it's the realization of how his absence has impacted his family and friends. With Caleb and Nathan stepping into roles Ty might have filled himself, he's left to navigate emotions he hadn't anticipated. This episode delves into Ty's inner conflict as he confronts new, complex feelings. Ty has always been a strong and confident presence, rarely unsettled by others' relationships. But as he observes Caleb and Nathan's closeness with Amy, he feels an unease he can't easily shake. For Ty, it's not a simple case of jealousy. It's the sobering awareness that things might not be the same as before. He begins to question his place in Amy's life, and whether he can fully reconnect with her in the way he hopes. Ty's revisitation of Heartland was something Amy and the entire family yearned for. However, after the underlying delight blurs, Ty begins to feel the heaviness of all that he missed during his time away. However he's home, everything feels marginally unique. His position in the family and in Amy's life has moved, regardless of whether he isn't completely mindful of it yet. Seeing Amy with Caleb and Nathan, Ty becomes mindful of how these two men have become apparatuses in her life, filling jobs he could have taken on the off chance that he'd been there. Caleb, particularly, has forever been near Amy, sharing an expert and cordial relationship that Ty once acknowledged without the slightest hesitation. Presently, however, Caleb's presence mixes something inside Ty, a peaceful, waiting uncertainty about his own position in the existences of those he cherishes most. Nathan, in the meantime, is a more current expansion to the circle. However, he's figured out how to fit right in, and his steady companionship with Amy is something Ty can't overlook. While there's no quick danger, Ty can't resist the urge to feel like a pariah thoroughly searching in. The bond Amy imparts to both Caleb and Nathan is clear, based on time, trust, and shared encounters minutes Ty used to be essential for, yet missed while he was away. Ty's consciousness of this avoids him feeling with regards to Step, like he's been abandoned in a world that continued on without him. It's an extreme reality to face, and it begins to burden him unexpectedly. This growing discomfort doesn't sit quietly in the background. It begins to chip away at Ty's confidence. He always felt secure in his relationship with Amy, trusting in the strength of their bond. But now, as he watches her interact with Caleb and Nathan, he starts to wonder if that bond is as strong as he believed. It's not that he doubts Amy's feelings for him. Rather, it's the unsettling realization that perhaps he's not the only one she leans on anymore. Caleb's easygoing nature and Nathan's steadfast support are reminders of the moments Ty missed. Though these men have filled the gap in different ways, Ty can't ignore the ache of knowing his absence created that gap in the first place. As he spends more time at Heartland, he notices the strong bonds Amy shares with Caleb and Nathan. What stands out most to him is how easily Caleb and Nathan fit into Amy's daily life. They know her schedule, her habits, and even her unspoken thoughts, things Ty once tuned into naturally. Each time he sees Caleb and Nathan imparting these little minutes to Amy, Ty feels an ache of something he's not exactly prepared to concede. It's an inclination that is both disrupting and surprising, making him question where he really remains with Amy, and whether he can flawlessly take up where he left out. Whenever Ty first completely faculties this disquiet is the point at which he sees Amy and Caleb cooperating on the farm. Caleb has forever been there for Amy, particularly during Ty's non-attendance, stepping in as a steady companion and accomplice. Watching both of them interface effortlessly, Ty starts to acknowledge exactly the amount Caleb has turned into a piece of Amy's regular daily existence. For Ty, these tranquil perceptions stack up, and as time passes, he feels the distance among him and Amy enlarging. The minutes he missed birthday events, achievements, regular battles are presently essential for Amy's past. Minutes Caleb and Nathan saw. For Ty, it's an excruciating indication of the time he lost, and he can't resist the urge to feel off kilter. These tranquil acknowledge make him question, assuming he'll at any point completely get up to speed, in the event that he'll at any point recover the closeness he once imparted to Amy. It's not simply desire filling Ty's feelings. It's his anxiety toward losing the profound, significant association he's constantly had with her. As Ty keeps on noticing Amy's associations with Caleb and Nathan, he starts to perceive how every one of these kinships has become complicatedly woven into her life. Consistent companion and comrade, Amy confides in him, and Ty can see that Nathan has become a dependable presence in her life. Nathan's impact on Amy comes according to a new viewpoint, one that Ty doesn't know he has. Watching them impart, he sees the happy with agreeable nature of their companionship. There's a force in their bond that, while not the same as her relationship with Caleb, holds its own importance in Amy's life. As Ty observes moments of laughter and heartfelt conversations between Amy and Nathan, he begins to understand that Nathan has filled a void he wasn't able to be present for. Ty never imagined feeling threatened by a friendship like Amy's with Nathan. But there's a quiet feeling of displacement he begins to sense, as if he's missed not only the big moments, but also the small, seemingly insignificant ones, the times when Amy needed someone to lean on who could offer her comfort and understanding. Nathan's companionship with Amy causes Ty to acknowledge exactly the amount he has missed as her accomplice as well as her companion. As he wrestles with this, he starts to contemplate whether he'll at any point recapture the closeness they once shared. For Ty, Amy's associations with Caleb and Nathan become images of everything that has changed. Every companionship addresses a piece of Amy's life that Ty was missing for, and he can't resist the urge to feel a feeling of misfortune. As Ty keeps on battling with his sentiments, the profundity of his envy starts to show. He understands it's not simply Caleb and Nathan he's grappling with. It's an impression of the time and minutes he missed while being ceaselessly. Ty has consistently highly esteemed being an unflinching, strong accomplice for Amy. However, presently he feels weak in a way he won't ever anticipate. These sentiments make him question his place in Amy's life, as well as his job inside his family and at Heartland. Ty's subtle conflict turns into a fight between his affection for Amy and his feeling of dread toward losing the association that has consistently characterized their relationship. He attempts to defend his feelings, letting himself know that Caleb and Nathan simply filled in during his non-appearance, just companions supporting Amy in manners he proved unable. However, the frailty remains, creating a shaded area over his viewpoint. He ends up replaying recollections of their common past, contemplating whether those bonds can at any point completely be re-established. He begins to stress that his non-appearance has left an unfillable void, one that Caleb and Nathan currently involve. For the first time, Ty feels his place beside Amy may not be as secure as he once believed. This thought gnaws at him, making it difficult for him to focus on anything else. The emotional weight of these thoughts begins to affect Ty's daily life. He finds himself being short-tempered with those around him, struggling to mask his frustration. Usually patient and calm, Ty now feels overwhelmed by a mix of jealousy and regret emotions he's not used to confronting. This jealousy isn't about suspicion or mistrust. It's about his own insecurities, his fear that he may never truly reclaim the place he once held in Amy's life. These emotions reveal a side of him he doesn't understand, a part of himself that makes him uncomfortable. Ty begins to worry that these insecurities might harm not only his relationship with Amy, but also his friendships with Caleb and Nathan, people who have become important parts of the Heartland family. In calm minutes, Ty's contemplations meander to all the what uncertainties. He ponders what could have been unique in the event that he wasn't away, assuming he'd been there during the difficult times Amy confronted. These considerations weigh intensely on him, making a feeling of disappointment that just extends his inward struggle. Ty's heart throbs with the acknowledgement that he can't change the past, that he can't return and make things right. Also, despite this, he contemplates whether he has the solidarity to revamp what he once had with Amy, or, on the other hand, in the event that he will continuously feel like an outcast in his own life. As Ty's inner turmoil escalates, he turns out to be progressively mindful that he really wants to address his feelings before they consume him. As Ty's desire and uncertainties develop, the strain between him, Caleb, and Nathan at last reaches a crucial stage. Ty has been keeping down his feelings, attempting to remain quiet about his questions. Yet as the days go by, it becomes more enthusiastically to conceal how he feels. He's baffled, feeling neglected and unfit to shake the feeling that his place in Amy's life isn't generally so secure as he once suspected. This all comes rising to the surface when Ty sees Caleb and Amy working intently together, sharing a snapshot of chuckling and commonality that Ty feels ought to have been his. Right now, Ty's disappointment outwits him, and he chooses to stand up to Caleb. His words come out crueler than he expected, as his feelings at last forward leap. Ty blames Caleb for violating limits, of being excessively near Amy, and questions Caleb's part in her life. Caleb, surprised, guards himself, attempting to make sense of that he was basically there for Amy as a companion, filling in while Ty was away. However, Ty's desire mists his judgment, making it difficult for him to acknowledge Caleb's aims as veritable. This confrontation leaves both men feeling hurt and misunderstood, with Caleb struggling to understand why Ty would accuse him of something he would never do. The tension affects not only Ty and Caleb's friendship, but also the overall atmosphere at Heartland. Amy, sensing the hostility, tries to calm Ty down and explain the importance of her friendship with Caleb. She reminds Ty of how Caleb has supported her and helped her through difficult times. But instead of feeling reassured, Ty feels even more conflicted, realizing that while Caleb's intentions were good, his absence left a void that someone else needed to fill. At the same time, Ty's jealousy also impacts his relationship with Nathan. Though Nathan has never tried to come between Ty and Amy, Ty can't help but feel threatened by the quiet connection Nathan shares with her. Ty's frustration builds up, leading to an awkward and tense exchange with Nathan. Sensing Ty's jealousy, Nathan tries to reassure him, explaining that his friendship with Amy is purely platonic. But Ty's insecurities run deep, making it difficult for him to fully trust Nathan's words. The showdowns with Caleb and Nathan act as a reminder, compelling Ty to stand up to the way that his uncertainties are harming the very connections he holds dear. After the warmed showdowns, Ty begins to understand the effect of his activities. The envy that blurred his psyche presently appears more clear, and he starts to see that his sentiments come from more profound uncertainties, not from anything Caleb or Nathan fouled up. Ty perceives that his non-appearance left a hole in Amy's life, a hole that others normally filled, not to supplant him, however, to help her. This acknowledgement presents to him a feeling of lowliness and lament for how he dealt with the circumstance. Ty starts to comprehend that his desire wasn't about Caleb or Nathan by any stretch of the imagination. It was about his own battle to track down his place again inside his family and at Heartland. In a snapshot of self-reflection, Ty figures out that to modify his relationship with Amy and recover the closeness they once shared, he really wants to address his uncertainties straightforwardly and truly. Keeping these sentiments restrained has simply prompted misconceptions and harmed, and he doesn't believe his feelings should harm his connections any further. With a restored feeling of direction, Ty chooses to have a kind discussion with Amy. He plunks down with her, conceding his envy and making sense of the feelings of trepidation he's been wrestling with since he returned. He drills down into his sensations of relocation and how hard it's been so that him might see others fill the job he believed was his alone. Amy, thusly, tunes in with understanding, and as Ty shares his heart, another degree of genuineness and weakness arises between them. Nathan has been a steady friend and confidant, someone Amy trusts. Ty can see that Nathan has become a reliable presence in her life. Nathan's insight into Amy comes from a fresh perspective, one T isn't sure he possesses. When Ty watches them interact, he notices the easygoing, comfortable nature of their friendship. There's an intensity to their bond that, while not as familiar as her relationship with Caleb, still holds its own significance in Amy's life. As Ty observes Amy sharing moments of laughter and heartfelt conversations with Nathan, he begins to realize that Nathan has filled a void he wasn't able to be present for. Ty never imagined feeling threatened by a friendship like Amy's with Nathan, but he now senses a quiet feeling of displacement. He starts to feel that he's missed not only the big moments, but also the small, seemingly insignificant ones, the times when Amy needed someone to lean on, someone who could offer her comfort and understanding. Nathan's kinship with Amy makes Ty mindful of exactly the amount he has missed. As her accomplice, as well as her companion, he starts to contemplate whether he will at any point recover the closeness they once shared. For Ty, Amy's associations with Caleb and Nathan represent everything that has changed. Every companionship addresses a piece of Amy's life he wasn't around for, and he can't resist the urge to feel a feeling of misfortune. Ty's internal struggle turns into a fight between his affection for Amy and his feeling of dread toward losing the association that has consistently characterized their relationship. He attempts to defend his feelings, letting himself know that Caleb and Nathan just stepped in during his non-attendance, that they're simply companions who upheld Amy in manners he proved unable. However, the weakness remains, creating a shaded area over his viewpoints. He winds up replaying recollections of their common past, contemplating whether those bonds can at any point completely be re-established. He begins to expect that his non-attendance has left an indispensable void, one that Caleb and Nathan presently fill. Interestingly, Ty feels that his place next to Amy probably won't be basically as secure as he once accepted. This thought eats at him, making it challenging for him to zero in on anything more. The close-to-home load of these contemplations starts to influence Ty's everyday existence. He winds up being short with everyone around him, battling to conceal his dissatisfaction. Generally persistent and quiet, Ty presently feels overpowered by a blend of desire and lament, feelings he isn't accustomed to confronting. This jealousy isn't rooted in suspicion or mistrust. It's driven by his own insecurities and his fear that he may never fully reclaim the place he once held in Amy's life. These feelings bring out a side of him he doesn't recognize, a part of himself that he's uncomfortable with. Ty starts to worry that these insecurities might damage not only his connection with Amy, but also his relationships with Caleb and Nathan, people who have become important to the Heartland family. In quiet moments, Ty's mind wanders to all the what-ifs. He thinks about how things might have been different if he hadn't been away, if he had been there during the tough times Amy faced. These thoughts weigh heavily on him, creating a sense of regret that only deepens his struggle. Ty's heart aches with the realization that he can't change the past, and he begins to wonder if he has the strength to rebuild what he once had with Amy, or if he will always feel like an outsider in his own life. As Ty's inward clash escalates, he turns out to be progressively mindful that he really wants to stand up to his feelings before they consume him. As his envy and frailties develop, the pressure between him, Caleb, and Nathan at last arrives at a limit. Ty has been keeping down his feelings, attempting to hush up about his questions. Yet over the long haul, it becomes more earnestly for him to conceal how he feels. He's baffled, feeling neglected and unfit to shake the feeling that his place in Amy's life isn't generally so secure as he once suspected. Each of this rises to the top when Ty sees Caleb and Amy working intently together, sharing a snapshot of giggling and commonality that Ty feels ought to have been his. Right now, Ty's disappointment defeats him, and he chooses to defy Caleb. His words come out more extreme than he expected as his feelings at last forward leap. Ty blames Caleb for violating limits, of being excessively near Amy, and questions Caleb's part in her life. Caleb, surprised, protects himself, making sense of that he was exclusively there for Amy as a companion, filling in during Ty's non-attendance. Be that as it may, Ty's envy mists his judgment, making it hard so that him might see reason or to acknowledge Caleb's aims as overall good. This contention leaves the two men feeling hurt and misconstrued, with Caleb attempting to comprehend the reason why Ty would blame him for something he could never do. The pressure influences Ty and Caleb's companionship as well as the general air at Heartland. Detecting the antagonism, Amy attempts to quiet Ty down, making sense of the significance of her companionship with Caleb. She helps Ty to remember how Caleb has upheld her through troublesome times. In any case, rather than feeling consoled, Ty feels much more tangled, understanding that while Caleb's expectations were great, his non-attendance left a void that another person expected to fill. Simultaneously, Ty's desire additionally influences his relationship with Nathan. However, Nathan has never attempted to divide Ty and Amy. Ty can't resist the urge to feel compromised by the tranquil association Nathan imparts to her. Ty's disappointment constructs, prompting an off-kilter and tense trade with Nathan. Detecting Ty's envy, Nathan attempts to console him, making sense of that his kinship with Amy is absolutely dispassionate. Be that as it may, Ty's weaknesses run profound, making it difficult for him to trust Nathan's words completely. For Ty, it's less about Nathan himself, and more about the job Nathan has played in Amy's life, a job Ty wants to have filled. This battle leaves Ty feeling lost and scrutinizing his own value. He understands that his envy has begun to drive individuals away, including Amy. The showdowns with Caleb and Nathan act as a reminder, constraining Ty to defy the way that his instabilities are harming the very connections he holds dear. After these showdowns, Ty starts to understand the effect of his activities. The envy that had blurred his brain presently appears more clear, and he begins to see that his feelings originated from more profound frailties, as opposed to anything Caleb or Nathan fouled up. Ty perceives that his non-attendance left a hole in Amy's life. A hole that others normally filled not to supplant him, yet to help her. This acknowledgement presents to him a feeling of lowliness and regret for how he dealt with the circumstance. Ty begins to understand that his jealousy wasn't truly about Caleb or Nathan. It was about his own struggle to find his place again within his family and at Heartland. In a moment of self-reflection, Ty understands that if he wants to rebuild his relationship with Amy and regain the closeness they once shared, he needs to address his insecurities openly and honestly. Keeping these feelings bottled up has only led to misunderstandings and hurt, and he doesn't want to let his emotions harm his relationships any further. With a renewed sense of purpose, Ty decides to have an open-hearted conversation with Amy. He sits down with her, admitting his jealousy and explaining the fears he's been grappling with since he returned. He opens up about his feelings of displacement and how difficult it's been for him to see others filling the role he thought was solely his. Amy listens with understanding, and as Ty shares his heart, A new level of honesty and vulnerability emerges between them. She reassures him that while Caleb and Nathan have been supportive friends, no one could ever replace him in her life. For Amy, Ty is indispensable, and his return has brought her a feeling of completeness that no kinship might at any point coordinate. She offers her thanks for Caleb and Nathan. However, she clarifies that her affection and obligation to Ty are steady. This discussion brings Ty harmony, permitting him to relinquish his desire and spotlight on reconstructing the association that has forever been exceptional between them. Through this snapshot of weakness, Ty understands that recovering his place in Amy's life doesn't mean deleting the jobs others played in his non-appearance. All things being equal, it's tied in with tracking down better approaches to develop together, tolerating that their relationship has advanced and can turn out to be considerably more grounded. Ty feels a restored feeling of direction, understanding that his process isn't tied in with rivaling Caleb or Nathan. It's tied in with reconnecting with Amy on a more profound level and reinforcing his bond with his loved ones. This newfound clarity allows Ty to embrace his role in Amy's life with confidence, knowing that their love can withstand any challenge. This conversation marks a turning point not only for Ty and Amy, but also for his relationships with Caleb and Nathan. Ty apologizes to them, acknowledging that his jealousy had clouded his perspective. Both men accept his apology, understanding that his outburst came from a place of insecurity rather than mistrust. So, with this newfound peace, Ty can finally let go of his fears and reclaim his place at Heartland, not as a replacement or a rival, but as Amy's true partner, grateful for the bonds Caleb and Nathan forged with Amy during his absence. Ty embraces his future with her and the Heartland family with an open heart. Ty's journey reminds us all that love isn't just about being present. It's about showing up with honesty, trust, and an open mind. And as Ty and Amy look forward, one thing is clear: their bond, tested by time and distance, is stronger than ever, ready for whatever lies ahead.